What's going on, everybody? It's the Bulls Show, aka Aidan, and welcome back to another video. Today, we've got an episode of Chicago Bulls Weekly. I think you all know what this means, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be looking at the previous week for the Chicago Bulls, our road trip, our West Coast road trip, the success of that road trip. We're going to be giving out awards for the individuals of the Chicago Bulls who had a strong week, who had a bad week, and who was our best player of the week. And we're also going to look at the upcoming week for the Chicago Bulls, where we have a lot of games on our schedule, ladies and gentlemen. We are getting very, very busy at this time of year. But before we get started, please like and subscribe to the Bulls Show. Turn notifications on and let me know in the comments below your thoughts about the Chicago Bulls upcoming week. We are back at the United Center, ladies and gentlemen. We have two very quick games back to back at the United Center, and then we've got a couple of away games to look forward to as well. But nevertheless, let's look at the previous week for the Chicago Bulls. So we had 4 games to look forward to this week or previous week for the Chicago Bulls, and we ended up going 3-1, which is a fantastic week by all stretches of the means. So obviously we had the Clippers game this week where we won 100-90. It was a very good defensive display from the Chicago Bulls, keeping to Clippers and holding them to 90 points, which is a very good defensive display for any team, and the Chicago Bulls is a big part of that as well. When you hold teams down to under 100, you tend to do a good job and you tend to win the game more often than not. So that's a really good display defensively from the Bulls. Then we went to the LA Lakers Staples Center back to back, and we won the game against the LA Lakers 121-103. A fantastic second half for the Chicago Bulls, and the Lakers collapsed in their game plan. They could not score in the second half as much as they would like, and their defense really let them down as well. And this was probably the most dominating win of our Chicago Bulls campaign and our Western Conference trip. Then we move over to one of the worst losses of the Chicago Bulls against the Portland Trail Blazers, where we lost 112-107. This loss hurt because we had the game in our control. I've already spoken numerous times about the Portland game. I don't want to keep rambling on about the same thing, but we did let Portland come back in that game. And it's one of those losses you're going to have every season, but you don't want to see at all, and we saw it in that game against Portland. And then we bounced back with a really strong game against the Denver Nuggets, beating them 114-108. Some historic wins in this campaign so far, ladies and gentlemen. The Clippers, the Lakers, and Denver. Really, really strong teams that we've beaten over there, with or without their best players. Some of these teams have had fantastic records without these players. For example, the Clippers had a 7-game win streak coming into this game without Kawhi Leonard, and we beat them. Obviously, Denver had a fantastic home stance and they definitely like to beat up on the Eastern Conference as well, and we beat them as well. So I'm really, really happy and positive about the Chicago Bulls campaign at the moment, and the West Coast trip. And this week, going 3-1 is definitely an elite week for the Chicago Bulls, and one that I think is a hopeful, consistent thing we can see going forward, because I love when we win a lot more than we lose throughout the week, especially when you're dividing the games into weekly episodes pretty much. To see that you win more than you lose, again, it's not something I've seen for a while. We always usually go neutral or we lose. We don't usually have positive weeks. So this year's completely different, and I'm enjoying the ride, and I'm happy that we get to see that. Now let's look forward to the individual performances, ladies and gentlemen. We give out 3 awards for the Chicago Bulls. This week, it's going to be 2. But we have the must improve of the week, we have the 6th man of the week, and we have the player of the week for the Chicago Bulls. And I'm not going to give a must improve for this week, because the players that I've given the must improve have all had really inconsistent weeks. For example, against the Denver Nuggets, despite his amazing defense, the best defense of the team, I gave it to Alex Caruso for his scoring. That's something that at the end of the day, that he's had really strong games in some of these games as well. He's had really strong performances, so I can't really give it to him for the whole week. Derek Jones Jr. is another one. I thought he had a poor game against the Clippers and a poor game against the Trailblazers, but he had really strong games against the Lakers and the Nuggets. Io is another individual as well that you could probably say had really strong games and had some quiet games as well. It's just a bit of an inconsistent week for the Chicago Bulls, so I feel like giving it to one person is a bit harsh, but also those players have stepped up in other games where they've not had great games. So it is what it is, and I think this week it's fair to say that I will not be giving a must improve. For the sixth man of the week, I think this is an easy decision. I'm going to give it to Derrick Jones Jr. I thought he had an outstanding week. Again, a strong game against the Lakers and a really strong game against Denver. For me, set him way above the rest in terms of the sixth man of the week, and I think he fully deserves it. And with Alex Caruso out of the sixth man rotation at the moment, he's starting for the Chicago Bulls. We need someone to kind of step up in his absence off of that bench. And I think Derrick Jones Jr., although not consistently, is the guy right now that is stepping up for this team. And hopefully we can see him continue to do so. And the player of the week for me is going to be Zach LaVine. His efficiency this week has been fantastic for the Chicago Bulls. And although he did have a struggle game against Portland where the clutch situations weren't going his way, the very next game against Denver, he's making his shots in the clutch. And he just had a fantastic week overall in terms of statistics. And his impact on the game was pretty solid, if I do say so myself. He is my player of the week. Obviously, DeRozan is a candidate. I truly 100% believe Lonzo's in that category as well, but for me it's going to be Zach LaVine. And now moving forward to this upcoming week, we have 5 games out of the week to look forward to, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be a crazy week for the Chicago Bulls, and it's definitely one, if you're keen on, to look forward to, because we've got some pretty interesting games here and hopefully some winnable games. So the first game is going to be at home against the New York Knicks. This is a game we've versed the Knicks before. We know what they bring. They're not at their greatest form at the moment. I think that they were a lot better the first time we versed them compared to this time around. But the Knicks, we all know, are going to be a very dangerous team, and they've beaten us at the United Center before. So this is a game where I hope the Chicago Bulls are looking to seek a little bit of revenge for the way and the manner that they lost that game, as well as potential injuries and rough play that the Knicks did have in that game with Patrick Williams and Lonzo Ball at the end of the game. There are some instances there where we could potentially see revenge if we come out strong against the New York Knicks. And hopefully the Bulls have that mentality of payback against the Knicks. We shall wait and see. And then we got the Indiana Pacers off of a back-to-back. The Indiana Pacers are one of the most inconsistent teams I've ever seen. And I don't know which Indiana Pacers team is going to show up. It seems like in terms of individual players, their stats are not bad. But they do seem to struggle a lot more than they are successful at the moment. So hopefully we can get a win against the Indiana Pacers. We did beat them a couple times last year. We do have a better team than them in terms of players, but hopefully we can end up using our players to success. They have great size over us still, so that's going to be a big issue, but I still feel like we have a chance to win that game. Then we go away, we go back to the West, and we verse the Houston Rockets away from home. Houston Rockets is a tanking team, but it's definitely one of those games where if we play to the level of our opponent, we will get caught sleeping in this game. This is going to be an interesting test because we versed Detroit, we versed the Raptors, we versed a couple of teams in terms of record that have not had the best of records, and I don't even think the Raptors are even involved in that. I think they're doing okay, but like teams like Detroit, teams like the Pelicans have not been terrifically good in terms of their record. The Rockets are going to be the same, ladies and gentlemen, and we have to try and see. This is a test to see if we play up to their level or they have to try and play up to our level. And if we can play at our highest level against the Houston Rockets, this should be a comfortable win, in my opinion, for the Chicago Bulls. But you can't take any team lightly in the NBA. And if we play down to their level, we will get caught sleeping in this game. Then another game against the Orlando Magic, ladies and gentlemen. Wendell Carter is going to be playing in this game against the Chicago Bulls. Last time we versed the Orlando Magic, we ended up losing that game. And that was the Nikola Vucevic return game, or the Wendell Carter return game, I should say. And there's a big incentive for me to win this game. Obviously, when you see players that recently got traded from your team, you obviously want to show that team that you won the trade. So I'm not sure if Vucevic will be back for this game. I sincerely hope that he will be. But if he isn't, hopefully we can still walk out with a win to show that we have improved since the last time we traded with Orlando and the last time that we played them. And then we got another back-to-back. The Orlando is the first game, and the second game is against the Miami Heat at home. This game is going to be very interesting. Two of the top defensive teams in the NBA. I think second and third right now in the Eastern Conference in terms of record for the Bulls and the Heat. This is going to be an interesting game. I think many people are very excited to see how this game goes. And hopefully we can keep up with the Miami Heat. If we have a close, competitive, tough, grueling game, fighting tooth and nail with the Miami Heat, who are one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference right now, I'll be very, very happy with the progression of this team. And I can truly believe if we win this game, we can beat anybody in the NBA. Miami's going to be a really tough test. Jimmy Butler is going to be coming back to the United Center. Jimmy Butler's a fan favorite. I'm sure he's going to get his applause for the Chicago Bulls. The Chicago Bulls fans are always usually very, very, very positive towards former Bulls players, and Jimmy Butler's a big part of that. So we'll wait and see how that goes, and that is the last game to look forward to this week. So we got 5 games: the Knicks, the Pacers, the Rockets, the Magic, and the Heat. We've got some winnable games here. I'm not going to lie. I really want to see how the Chicago Bulls go against some of the lower ranked teams in the NBA to see if we play on their level. But also you got teams like the Heat that I just simply cannot wait to see how we play against them. We'll wait and see how it goes, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe if you're new. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode of Bulls Weekly. And of course, if you watch me every week, I will see you next week for another episode. If you watch a little bit more than that, I will see you against the New York Knicks in a few hours. Take care and peace.